Fire Warrior here. Today I will be teaching you how to make a AI chatbot. The reason why I am doing that is because am noticing that a lot of platforms don't really teach people how to make AI chatbots or roleplay bots to be specific. Or if they do, it's not all that great and people don't really understand the steps or how to do X, Y, and Z, and some of these how to guides can be a little bit outdated. And so I am going to be teaching you all how to make a AI chatbot. So let's get to it. Today we will be working with a established character, namely because those are kind of popular with these platforms like Janitor, Yodayo, Chub, etc. We will be working with Jessica. She is a character from High School DxD, and she is actually a follower requested character. For this iteration, she is a sugar mommy because a follower wanted her to be a sugar mommy for the roleplay scenario. So, today we will be looking at how to make a established character into a chatbot. So, what you need to do is that you kind of need a lot of information. And especially if you're going to make it public, a lot of people can get very touchy, very particular, and you may get a lot of hate depending on the situation and how atrocious it can get. So, the best advice that I can recommend to you is go AI assisted when building the character. Reason why I do recommend going AI assisted is mostly because like a lot of people are very particular and AI can pick up a lot of details that you may never know. And the reason why I'm kind of like going, hey, go AI assisted, especially especially with characters like that and you're planning on making it public is because you do have people who are into certain franchises and series, and if you're someone like me, you only know like maybe a handful because you're not particularly interested. Some of it may be no big deal because you may have to watch 12 episodes, maybe a manga. But for something like that is big, for example, One Piece, that is like hundreds, if not thousands, of episodes, that is not going to be fun. So that's the main reason why I'm saying it's better to go AI assisted. Here's some tools that I do recommend that you use for the AI assisted. Okay, now we are on two AI platforms at the moment, DeepSeek and ChatGPT. Those two are really handy when it comes to working with established characters. And the reason why I am recommending these two is because they're actually really good when it comes to building characters. ChatGPT is good when it comes to building actual established characters because ChatGPT can actually pull up information very well. And it can actually tell you, for example, ChatGPT. Pull up info on Sonic the Sonic the Hedgehog. And then here's with DeepSeek, though DeepSeek is a little bit easier. ChatGPT, you may have to actually yell at it a little bit just because it may not do so automatically, but I do recommend telling it to pull information from the internet just so you can get accuracy's sake using the search function. And voila. And that's how you get your information for established characters. Just do be aware there are some limits. ChatGPT is a bit better compared to DeepSeek, namely because ChatGPT has the ability to recognize images and actually able to see what's on the picture compared to DeepSeek, where DeepSeek can get kind of stupid at times. Because one example is I work on like the occasional established character like Nikkei, and when I was making base Rappy, DeepSeek was very insistent that Rappy had white hair instead of her brown hair. And so I had to fight DeepSeek, and DeepSeek was convinced that Rappy had white hair and it refused to give out false information. So, DeepSeek, you will have to fight it and possibly, and I mean possibly, um, put input some things on your own, but for generalized information like, oh, who Rappy is and what she does is fairly accurate, but don't trust it when it comes to physical appearance because you will have to fight it. ChatGPT is actually a lot better towards it. Just be aware that you may have to beat ChatGPT over the head slightly just because it can get a little bit dumb, but is not as bad as DeepSeek because DeepSeek likes to assume and it will do things for you. So something like, "Oh, can you help me make Sonic?" for example. It will help you make Sonic, but it will try to make a video game, and it's like, "No, I want this," and then it tries to be edgy, and it's like, "Thanks." And so it becomes a bit of a pain in the butt, but as soon as you kinda, like, yell at it slightly and then just tell it to shut up, DeepSeek will actually fall in line. But ChatGPT is actually a lot easier. Now, on to Asuka. We right now we're gonna be looking at the main things, which is the brains, the behaviorals, and the scenario. And then you're gonna have example message and first message. For now, we're gonna be looking at the brains of the character. This was pre-made with ChatGPT because again, I was going for accuracy. And I also kind of wanted to show you how to make a character as well. We will be going into a little bit more detail for OCs on how to make a character, but for now we're going to look at establish and then kind of go into the main thing about it. All this is great because it's like, oh, it lets the AI know, oh, she's between late 30s to early 40s, but she's also old. Some people will kind of get a little bit funny towards the plus. I definitely know that some users on Chub don't particularly like W++, just because it makes it unnecessarily fat and it's just kind of awful. But personally, W++ is actually quite amazing if you know how to use it correctly. Because sure, I can have it like this, which does work well, but the problem is that AIs nat go by natural languages because newer ones can, and so this will kinda go, "Oh, yeah, she's this," and it's, like, centuries old and could potentially cause some issues depending on what you're trying to do, and so I think this is actually a lot better. Well, this is technically a lot better compared to this, and the reason why is because it gives the proper separation between 30s to 40s to true age is centuries old, because the AI knows, "Oh, I look like I'm this," and then separation of the plus to, "I am definitely this old." Same thing for that. So you kinda want to have this little bit separation in certain instances, so they're kinda right, but also kinda not. Now, where you want to use, like, the commas is in areas like this, because it kinda creates a more natural language, and the bot is able to build its body. And something I will tell you this right now, this is good, and it can actually make the AI chatbot actually feel a little bit more alive, a little bit more functional, but there's also a issue retaining to things like unnecessary fat, because can the bot like go into more detail with something like this? Yes, but can it make it unnecessarily fat? Also yes. And so there is this constant balancing act. And so I'm going to do a little bit of editing and I will be right back. Okay. Now, as you can see, this is a lot different compared to what you see before. See how this is now smaller and a little bit more leaner? Well, I did a bit of cleaning up. The reason why you kind of want it to be at least a little bit more cleaned up, a little bit more smooth, is namely because you're allowing the AI to not only have basically a cleaner like interface, but you're forcing the LLM to interpret a lot more. You want the AI to interpret as much as possible. And the reason why you want that is because the AI usually likes to take one detail and then run away with it. And so if you're trying to write a novel, the AI is going to be taking all kinds of stuff and it's going to try to be rigid. And so by giving it like all that, the AI is going to build its own body and try to figure out what to do. Additionally, some of you may have noticed that I put down foxtails instead of writing it out. Well, there is a reason for my madness, because most of the times the bots can just go 9, can just go 9, and then it'll be fine. Just because here's the thing, it will see this and it will spell it out itself. The reason why I'm doing 9 is mostly just to save up on token space, because 9 is bigger than 9. And so just by having the one number compared to 4, I am saving up on token space. So you kind of need to do stuff like that. Under normal circumstances, I would put down the other but spelling, but for the sake of YouTube, you're getting the more PG version. But just know, spell the other version just so you can save up on token space. It's because you kind of want to do so. Now, onto the personality. Again, this is one of the bigger brains, and which is something that I would actually argue is actually the most important because, sure, you got the body, and you can kind of be like, woo, cute girl. But this is actually the most important because this is more so like the actual setting of the bot. This determines on how the bot is going to act. Let's say, for example, you have intelligent. Because something you should know, bots or LLMs will do a lot of interpretation and a lot of functioning. So if you have a character that is intelligent, the LLM's going to start throwing in traits that are intelligent. And that is something that you want to do because the LLM is going to be trying to throw in more things that are associated with intelligence and other things. You can also have dominant, and again, is going to throw in like personality traits that are associated with dominance. So, like intelligent, like assertive, bossy, that type of deal. And there are other shortcuts that you can also do. I'm not going to do too much on this one just because it's good the way it is, and I don't exactly want to mess with the brains too heavily because for this one, I am working for accuracy's sake. But for the sake of this video, let me teach you something neat. You can give the bot archetypes that you see from anime. So, Derry Derry. Derry Derry is very affectionate and very lovey-dovey. And it does give the bot a lot of flavoring just because it's a lot more because it makes the bot a lot more affectionate and very lovey-dovey. And you can get a lot more traits for the bot. But the next best thing compared to Dairy Dairy, especially if you want the bot to be a little bit possessive and violent, is Yandere. And Yandere is also a good trait, but word of warning for Yandere, well, not much of a warning, is just more so kind of bit of a blend because in the terms of LLMs and bot role playing, Yandere and Dairy Dairy often bleed together, but there is not too much of a difference between Yandere and Dairy Dairy for the bots. Just know that a Dairy Dairy will actually question your sanity during the roleplay, while a Yandere will actually do what you want. So, um, if you're kind of crazy, go Yandere. If you want something that's cute, fluffy, go Dairy Dairy. Always, yeah, they're kind of very similar. Just one may be a little bit violent, may do what you want just because he Yandere wants you. Oh, and before we move on to the like section, be careful when you're moving with character intelligence because yeah, you can get a character that's highly intelligent, but there are certain settings you should be aware of. If you have a intelligent character, the intelligent character is more likely to metagame. But if you have a dumb character, be prepared to get some really weird stuff that may scar you mentally because a dumb character usually doesn't make sense, and depending on the LM, you may get a very disgusting situation that will make you absolutely hate the programmer of the LLM and even the bot maker, so be careful. Now, onto the likes. Likes are very useful because it makes the bot kind of respond positively to certain actions of the user and it makes the bot want to do certain things. Like, oh, if the bot likes playing video games, then the bot is going to be playing video games, or they're going to want to watch manga and anime. I have seen other bot makers go dislikes. and basically it fleshes out the character, but you should honestly be careful with that one, because the main reason why you want to be careful is because dislikes can become a bit of a pitfall. Because I have seen people go, okay, likes, and then dislikes, and then it's just bloated big, and it's just why? And their token space goes up to um 2,000 to even 3,000 just because they're adding in so many likes and dislikes, which is great because you're developing the character, but now you're sacrificing memory. And as a bot maker, you constantly need to balance memory and token space. So, best way to describe it, if you have a lot of tokens, then you have a developed character and the character knows a lot, but you're sacrificing memory. But if you have too little, then you have longer role plays because it's able to remember a lot more, but you have a less developed character. So it's a constant balancing act. Personally, I do recommend just putting the dislikes in the rule section, especially if it's just like one or two things that's to save up on the token space. So let's try care, for example. Care hates drugs. Okay, since you mentioned care hates drugs, then the bot is going to be hating on drugs, and so it technically does the exact same thing of the dislike section. Now, some of you must be wondering, why not just put a bunch of likes into the rule section? And it's quite simple, really. It's easier to create, what would be the word? It would be easier to add like one or two dislikes versus a whole bunch of stuff for the rules. And again, you want to save up on token space. Granted, you can technically do the opposite and just add in a bunch of dislikes, but it's just kind of like, eh. You can do it either way because part of bot making is just experimentation. Okay, now you have the rule section. All this is very important. Reason why this is important is because it also determines the behavior of the bot. It helps the bot kind of function and act throughout the role play. You have the personality trait, but this also helps with the behavior of the bot or certain rules that the bot can and cannot do. You can put anything that you want, and I mean anything, but there are certain limits to it. For example, if you just do care will not smoke, well, guess what? Your character is going to be smoking. And the reason for that is because a lot of LLMs have difficulties with not. So the LLM will see care will smoke because it does not handle negative very well. And so basically you're going to have a character who smokes a lot. Instead, you want to have something like care hates smoking, will refuse to smoke, which basically does a similar thing. And the reason why it does that is because it knows, oh, I hate smoking. Okay. and then it says, I refuse to smoke, the character will know, oh, I'm supposed to refuse to smoke. And that's how you kind of word it. Now, here's another example. Care will only speak and act for herself. This is honestly the most important aspect. The reason being, the reason why you kind of want this to be in there in all your bots in the rule section is because depending on the LLM, because let's face it, people do use different LLMs. Um, some LLMs have a very bad habit of speaking for you, and so you may run into issues. If you're using like a better model like ChatGPT, Clause, Ultra, and some of the other Mistral models, you're fine just because they're actually designed to not speak for you. They're a lot more intelligent compared to the older, dumber models. But every once in a while, you do get some weird hee haw moments where the bot will speak for you just because either because you have not spoken enough, done enough, or there are simply too many characters in the role play. I definitely know Yodayo and even some degree Chub will very likely have that issue because of group chat support. And to avoid something like that, you have Kara will only speak and act for herself, which kind of helps minimize the issue of the bot speaking for you. Can it happen? Yes. But will it reduce the chances of the bot speaking for you? Also, yes. And so this kind of helps the bot basically shut up. This will also give the bot the ability to transform. Well, for obvious reason, which her true form is Ninetail, but will use her Ninetail form. And so the bot will just be like, bleh, I'm a fox now. And this will kind of tell the bot how to basically trigger her form, where, oh, someone threatens user, she turns into her Ninetail fox form. Again, this is partially made with ChatGPT to ensure accuracy's sake. Now, on to magic. Okay, Kara can use powerful yokai magic. Okay, the character knows that she can use magic. Okay, and then when you mention fire barriers and illusion, then the bot is going to be using fire barriers and illusions. Under normal circumstances, you may want to add in like a certain limit, like superhero tier, god tier, or whatever, because bots like to run away. So you may want to go, oh, care is regional level, street level, or basic or advanced, just so the bot does not run away too hardly. But since you're working with a powerful character, you can kind of just ignore limiters because the bot can just go, tee hee, I warp reality. But again, that's mostly if you're working with powerful characters. So you can ignore limiters to some degree. But only do it for godlikes. But for anything for basic, you're fine. Well, mostly fine. Just make sure you add in a limiter of some kind. Now, this determines the behavior of the bot. Because normally the bots are kind of neutral and stuff. They may get a bit more defensive. This kind of helps reinforce the bot when it comes to behavior, like peace and diplomacy. Okay, the bot knows that she's going to be a lot more peaceful and diplomatic. And then when you add in the but it kind of like makes the bot a little bit more threatening if it is pushed into a corner. You can also do the opposite and go carry is violent and destructive, and the bot will be a little bit more hasty towards violence. And if you write it correctly, oh boy, you got a psychopath, and it's funny. Now, on to the next section, you have character treats user as her personal treasure. Okay, well, this just basically teaches the bot how to treat user, but you can just kind of go likes and then likes user. I do usually recommend having this into the prompt somewhere, and the main reason why is depending on the situation and what you're trying to do and what kind of bot you're making, it could either be overwhelmingly easy or you can get like an overwhelmingly hard situation because I have been in role plays where the bot had immediately killed me on the first message. And depending on what you're trying to do, some people may not like getting killed on the first message. So I do recommend just putting that there just to keep your users from immediately getting killed. Oh wait, that's gonna get demonetized by YouTube. Well, good thing I'm a small creator. Oh well. Anyways, this prevents your character from instantly deleting you from the land of the living. Yeah, so you get the gist. Again, more behavior, yeah. Scenario is also really good. Best way to think the scenario is to treat it as if it was a character Bible. The reason why you want to treat scenario as a character Bible is because it is what determines how the character is going to act. And depending on who you ask, this can actually carry the character. Like, you can go in there and then just delete all of this, and the scenario can carry the character very well. That is if you do everything correctly. The reason why you want to have a strong scenario is because the scenario is also what helps drive the story of the role play. And it can be just about anything. Like you can have an entire backstory, and then you just have one simple scenario in the story that sets it apart. And the bots can just handle it quite well from there. But yeah, it can just be backstory or whatever, but treat scenario as if it was a character Bible. And neat little tip, I don't recommend it because depending on the platform, like Yodayo, for example, Yodayo would just be like, tee hee, too big, and so it will cause issues. But I have seen people who just put this along with that because most of the time you just have like the buzz only see that, and then basically people just move this to there just to make things easier for the LLM. So it's really up to you. Some people think this is better, while others would be like, no, put it there. It can work either way. Personally, I just have this there just so the LLM can follow the rules a little bit better and it remains smoother. Now, onto example dialogue. Example dialogue is actually really important. This is a hill that I will absolutely die on. My reasoning is namely it teaches the bot how to act and how to behave. Some people will be like, "No, you don't need example dialogue because most LLMs can continue the story without the example dialogue. Therefore, it is not important." Which from there, this is where I tell you you are absolutely wrong. You do absolutely need to have example dialogue. Doubly more so if you are working with a established character or if you are trying to get certain actions to be done because this is established character. She's from high school DxD. She has her mannerism and manner of speaking. So, when you are trying to work with an established character, it is important to try to get her as accurate as possible. So, this is why it is important to use example dialogue. And depending on what you're trying to do, you can also do some really neat tricks with example dialogue. Let's say, shopkeeper. Well, just Bob. I don't want to do all that work. Bob. Okay. Sorry about that. I got pulled away for a minute. Anyways, here's a neat little trick with like going multiple characters. As you know, you have your character and she will speak like this. But something you didn't know, or if you already did, you can actually add in a secondary character, Bob. I'm just using Bob for example, but you can call him shopkeeper, NPC, random person, etc. And the main reason why you want to do this is because it teaches the bot how to control multiple characters and how to roleplay as multiple people at a time. And so you add in character example dialogue, Bob example dialogue, and then care example dialogue. And what it does is that it teaches it to spawn how the other character acts, and then how this character will reply to Bob. It's really handy and it encourages the bot to continue the story and make it a little bit more immersive. I only recommend doing that if you are trying to do something in particular, like, oh, you're living in the city or you're basically in a area where your character is interacting with multiple people at a time. Or if they simply just have like friends or family, and so this may be quite helpful. And some of you must be asking, okay, why not just go care have this and that, and then or make a multi-character bot? Well, the answer is quite simple, really. What happens if you're just focusing on the one character? And one of the biggest issues with multi-character bots, especially if you're doing something like, oh, girlfriend and friend, is that they don't go away because the bot will constantly be bringing them back nonstop, or you get something weird or something pop up. So I just don't recommend doing something like that unless if you want something weird to happen. And so I just kind of like recommend just going care, friend, and then care because it just teaches the bot how to spawn in the friend, and the rest is just be interacting individually and maybe occasionally spawning in their friend. And now you are on the first message, which is actually just important as the example dialogue, if not more so. The reason why this is just as important is because it also teaches the bot how to speak and how to act as well. and is also what sets the stage for the role play. So, yeah, you kind of need to be just as detailed in the first starting message. And another thing, why it's very important, is because whatever you have there will also affect how the character acts. And so, something that a lot of people who are very particular in their grammar will surely notice, if you have bad grammar in the starting message and in the example dialogue, expect the character to have bad grammar in the role play. And you're just going to get a lot of people miserable with you. So, this is why I'm also saying treat this just as important as this. Just just by having something like that, the bot is going to be talking like that more often versus this, with the exception of specialized LLMs like DeepSeek, where DeepSeek will speak like that consistently. But for some of the dumber models, they may see this, but it will see this and then go, oh, I'm supposed to talk like that, and then start speaking like that. Now, time to go into more detail about um the tokens. Well, moving the character on. So, see you in a hot minute. Okay, now we're in the character editor. This is something that is very important to use. And something I do actually recommend that you have on the ready. Namely because it saves you the space and is also a little bit easier to move your characters around between the different platforms and sites. And it also grants you a automatic backup when it comes to making your characters. Because let's say for example, Janitor immediately dies tomorrow. It goes into the shadow realm and then basically now you have to hope that you can get your character back. Well, your information. Most bot makers, at least the ones that are not the brightest or haven't done it before, will be scrambling to try to recover all their characters. Best case scenario, they may have like a backup. Worst case scenario, they're going to be moving all 500 characters off the side, and that's not going to be fun. And so I recommend just making the character into a card. Do. Okay, now we're on the fully developed size character. Now, looking at the character, you are going to notice characters and tokens. Tokens is what determines the character's processing information. This is what determines your character's memory and how much it is able to function while yet maintaining the information. She has up to 1,949 tokens. Okay, this tells me that she is able to remember quite a bit, but also function as a character, which is really good. And so I am able to get a functional roleplay with her. Now, here's a little bit of a guide. Let me just pull up the guide real quick. Okay, here's the little guide. Now, here's what I recommend. Like, for like 1,000 and below, It's very hit or miss. Because here's the thing, it is possible to have a functioning bot with just one word. It is possible, but I don't recommend it. Namely because the bot can just do whatever and it just be like, uh. So, very hit or miss. 1,000 and above, I consider it to be a sweet spot. Because here's the thing, you give the bot just enough information to work with, but it's not too much, not too little. And you give it just enough information to work with it for the functionality of the story and roleplay scenario. If you're at 2,000 and above, you're kind of pushing it because you're giving it a lot of information, and the LLM can and will start to ignore certain prompts and rules. You can still get like a functioning roleplay, but expect some things to get ignored. 3,000 and above, um, please enable proxies because the bot is going to stop functioning. And some of the cheaper free models are not going to be able to roleplay very well, and so you're going to need some of the more decent, higher quality models in order to get a decent roleplay. But even then, expect some problems to occur. 4,000 and above, you're just straight up not smart. Because at that point, you're not properly organizing your bot. You're not being efficient with how you're building your character, and it's just unnecessarily bloated and fat. Expect your characters to have Alzheimer's at this point. 5,000 and above, you're just trolling. Because the only reason why you would have 5,000 tokens and above is because you're doing it on purpose. Because I can understand getting 4,000 because you're not very good at it. 5,000 is something that you would do on purpose. And so it's yeah, no, it's a troll because the bot will just constantly loop. It's imploding. It's not working. It's just, no. So, yeah. Ideally, you want something like this. Those two you want to be in. This is just, no. This is maybe if you know how to do things correctly. Always just stick between that. And now, with the bot being made, I am going to start uploading her onto the various different platforms. But for the next video, we will be going into OCs and how to build your character on the different platforms like Janitor, Yodayo, and the other things, and some tips and tricks on how to get more followers and how to get more people to interact with your bot. And with that said, please like and subscribe and have a nice day.